The owner of this house and the owner of that house were both insured by the same insurance company when a major hailstorm hit their homes recently. And the insurance company tried the same tactic on both of them when the insurance companies underfunded their property damage claims. But things went very differently for each homeowner, and in this video, I'll explain what happened. Not only was each home covered by the same insurance company, but a lot of the details of each of the re-roof projects were similar on each house. This house had Owens Corning duration storm shingles at the time of the storm. Now these are class 4 impact resistant shingles. They're not standard shingles, and they're more expensive than a standard shingle. But the insurance company only paid for standard shingles. That house also had Owens Corning duration storm shingles, and the insurance company also only paid for standard shingles. This house had impact resistant hip and ridge shingles. The insurance company only paid for standard hip and ridge shingles. That house also had impact resistant hip and ridge shingles, and the insurance company only paid for standard shingles. This house had ice and water shield installed at all the eaves at the time of the storm. Building code requires 2 courses of ice and water shield to be installed on this house. The insurance company didn't include any ice and water shield at all in the scope of their claim. That house also had ice and water shield installed at all the eaves, and it also had it in the valleys. The insurance company didn't include any ice and water shield in the claim for that house. That house also had valley metal installed prior to the storm, and the insurance company didn't include payment for any valley flashing, even though it's required by code. The roof on this house is 5,500 square feet, but the claim only listed it as 3,100 square feet, which reduced the claim payment by a huge amount. That house required a higher waste factor than the insurance company was allowing for. They accounted for an 8% waste factor when the recommended waste factor for this roof was 12%. That meant that the claim had fewer shingles in the scope of work than would be necessary to do the job. That house also had starter shingles installed prior to the storm, and the insurance company didn't include a line item for the installation of new starter shingles. This also reduced the claim amount by a few $100s. This house has a large back porch awning roof, and due to the pitch on it, it required the tear-off, disposal, and installation of 2 new layers of underlayment. The insurance company only paid for 1 layer. That house also had a large back porch awning roof, which also required the tear-off, disposal, and installation of 2 new layers of underlayment. The insurance company only paid for 1 layer on that house too. This house didn't have good access for us to tear off and carry the waste materials from the back porch roof over the house to throw into the dumpster that was in the driveway. All the materials had to be thrown to the ground and then hand carried around the house to the dumpster in the driveway. The new materials couldn't be loaded onto the back porch roof by the material supplier, so the roofing crew had to hand carry the new shingles onto that roof. The insurance company didn't account for the extra labor charge in their claim. That house also didn't have access to the back porch roof, so the waste and new materials all had to be hand carried by the crew. The insurance company didn't account for that in that claim either. This house had 6-inch gutters at the time of the storm. All the gutters were damaged, but the insurance company only paid to put 5-inch gutters back on. This house also had 3x4 downspouts at the time of the storm, and the insurance company only paid to install 2x3 downspouts. That house had gutters that were painted to match the trim color, and it wasn't a color that could be matched with a pre-painted gutter color. So the new gutters had to be painted to the pre-existing color. That wasn't in the claim. That house also had gutters on the left side of the house, which were damaged by the hail, but which were left out of the claim, reducing the claim by a few $100s. And the claim for that house omitted the installation of drip edge, which is required by building code. The insurance claim for this house was $19,961, too low. The claim for that house was $6,273, too low. Now I'm going to explain what happened with each of those claims. We collected all the details and annotated some photos from this house to demonstrate to the insurance company what was left out of the scope of work for the claim, and we sent it to the insurance company. Now remember, the claim for this house was almost $20,000 too low. A few days later, the homeowner received an email from the insurance company with a revised claim that matched our cost to do the project. So in just a few days, the insurance company agreed that their claim was wrong and our scope of work and cost was right, and they increased the claim by almost $20,000. So wouldn't you think that the owner of that house, whose claim was only $6,300 too low, would have had an easy time of getting his claim revised to the correct amount?
Not a chance.
Okay, so here's what really happened with the claim for that house. We sent the same insurance company that we had worked with on this house the same type of information. We provided them annotated photos of everything that needed to be added to their scope of work, along with a clear written explanation of why everything was necessary to be added to the claim. Remember, it's the exact same process that we did with this house, with the exact same insurance company. But it took the claims adjuster for that house 5 days to reply to our email. Well, not a big deal. They've got a lot of claims to deal with, and we understand that. But in the email that we got from the claims adjuster, not only did she ask us to send more information to validate what we had already documented, she required proof for other items being in our scope of work. Well, those other things that she was asking for proof for were things that are necessary parts of a roof replacement. These are components that have to be replaced because they get damaged when you tear off the old shingles. And she said we needed to send them the code documentation to prove that the valleys and drip edge needed to be replaced or installed.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
But it's an adjuster's job to know what the local codes are. It's not the homeowner's or the contractor's responsibility to educate an adjuster on International Residential Building Code or provide them with the code documentation. That's just a stall tactic. They've already got access to the building codes. So we sent a reply, and we waited, and we waited. And over 2 weeks went by. And guess what happened? Well, it's what always happens when you get pulled into a battle with an insurance company. All of a sudden, the original adjuster was no longer on the claim.
Where'd he go?
And of course, the new adjuster wasn't aware of the need to look at the supplements that we had submitted. So I got an email from the new adjuster asking for, get ready, code documentation. But this time it wasn't for the valleys and the drip edge like the previous adjuster had asked for, but for the fact that 2 layers of underlayment are required on a 312 pitch roof. Again, this is all basic stuff that adjusters should know, but that's not all this adjuster wanted. He wanted documentation from the shingle manufacturer stating that the field shingles could not be used as starter and ridge shingles.
You don't know what you're talking about, do you?
Now, for those of you that don't know, if you use 3-tab shingles to install on your roof, you can use those as starter and ridge shingles. But for roofs with dimensional shingles, you can't use the field shingles as starter and ridge. Those are completely different products made for their specific application and each having a different cost than the standard field shingles. So this was just another stall tactic by the insurance company. So 2 more weeks went by. Then the adjuster told me that the insurance company was demanding that I remove a shingle from the roof and send it to a company called ITEL for testing. They wanted proof that it was an impact-resistant shingle. But the Owens Corning Duration Storm is a very unique shingle in that it's got a white scrim backing on it. It's the only product that has that, and it's only on the Class 4 impact-resistant shingle. Any adjuster should know this. And remember, this house had the same shingle on it, and when we sent the same insurance company a photo of the shingle, they revised the claim without question. So we told the adjuster for that house that if we had to go back to the house to remove a shingle to send to ITEL, that we were going to charge for that service since we don't do work for free, and ITEL charges for their shingle testing. The adjuster replied and sent an email and said that they wouldn't approve a revision to the claim to include the impact-resistant shingles without the test results from ITEL to prove that they were what we said they were. And they wouldn't pay for our labor to do it or pay for the ITEL test. But I need to remind you that none of this is rocket science. It's just extremely simple information that any adjuster knows how to determine, or they should know how to determine it. Removing a shingle and sending it away for testing was completely unnecessary in this instance. Thankfully, the homeowner wasn't hesitant about getting involved and began sending the adjuster a bunch of information so that he could get the scope of work in the claim revised to what it needed to be. But all of this took weeks. Finally, after a few months of back and forth with the insurance company, they agreed that the claim needed to be revised to match our scope of work.
How about that?
But by then, it was too late in the year to do the roof. The cold weather had already set in. So we had to wait until spring of the next year to get the house re-roofed. So now that you know all the drama that the insurance company put this homeowner through, here's some takeaways for you. Insurance companies are incentivized to keep your claim low. They are for-profit companies after all. Often it takes some pushback from you or your contractor to get your claim funded to the amount that it should be. Sometimes that pushback may simply be an email to the adjuster explaining what's missing from the claim, and it's going to get resolved right away. But sometimes that pushback may have to be a little more aggressive, and you're just going to have to keep at it to get what you need in the claim. The second thing for you to keep in mind is that you, as the homeowner and the client of the insurance company, have a lot more leverage to get the insurance company to resolve your claim to your satisfaction than your roofing contractor does. You're the customer of the insurance company. The roofer is not. The insurance company can basically just ignore your roofer. So if you've got the facts from your roofer about what's missing from the claim, don't be afraid to contact your insurance company and explain to the rep that you want them to get it resolved ASAP. Hey, if you want to see another story about a nightmare insurance claim that we and the homeowner fought for 18 months, watch this video. And if you want to find out all about how the insurance process works with a roof replacement, you really should watch that playlist.